the Monday after James Scurlock was shot and killed, the press conference conducted by Don Klein and Brenda Beadle indicated that there wouldn't be charges forthcoming because there was a determination that the action by Jake Gardner was self-defense. Within a few days, there became a request for a grand jury to do the investigation. The Omaha Police Department did continue with their investigation. They interviewed approximately 60 people in conjunction with this homicide investigation. They received video clips from members of the public who were down in the old market. The grand jury, at the point in time that they made their decision, it's almost a slam dunk that they had much more information available to them than what was had at the time that the initial decision was made. The grand jury returned an indictment today against Jake Gardner. And that indictment charges the following counts. The first count charges manslaughter in connection with the death of James Scurlock. The second charge, or the second count, charges the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. The third count that they decided to charge was attempted first-degree assault. And the fourth charge or count is terroristic threats. The terroristic threat count essentially addresses the conduct of Jake Gardner in the verbal confrontation with James Scurlock. It includes the commentary, the back and forth between the two of them. I don't get to participate in the deliberations with the grand jury, but they are able to understand that Jake Gardner was threatening the use of deadly force in the absence of being threatened with a concomitant deadly force by James Scurlock or anyone who was associated with him. The count that is the attempted first-degree assault is tied to the shot that that has been characterized as a warning shot. Now, there are two shots before the shot that ultimately took the life of James Scurlock. It's that second shot that the grand jurors decided to charge attempted first-degree assault. The use of the firearm in connection with a felony is attendant to all of the three substantive counts. But with respect to the manslaughter count, Nebraska law contemplates a charge like that when a person is killed intentionally, but as a result of a sudden quarrel. That particular count does not rest solely on an analysis of the video that has been played in the media already. There was evidence that was gathered and presented to the grand jury about activity that Jake Gardner was engaged in prior to even coming in contact with James Scurlock. And that evidence can reasonably be construed as an intent to use a firearm for purposes of killing someone. That evidence comes primarily from Jake Gardner himself. The grand jury was able to have information from his cell phone, from his Facebook Messenger account. They were able to review video from inside Mr. Gardner's business. I told those grand jurors when I first was appointed to work this case that when I was appointed that I expected to ultimately end up at the conclusion of their decision-making to stand in front of the press and say the same thing that Don Klein said, which was that the shooting was justifiable self-defense. That was my initial reaction. But I can tell you that there is evidence that undermines that. And again, that evidence comes primarily from Jake Gardner himself. There is nothing about what this grand jury has done that should be taken as some sort of a knock or an indictment against Don Klein or Brenda Beadle or the Douglas County Attorney's Office. To the family and friends and allies of James Scurlock, this is not a time for celebration or exuberance. These are simply charges. Jake Gardner is a man presumed innocent as I stand here before you right now. For the people who are supportive of James Scurlock, his father stated right after he was killed that he did not condone and did not want that type of behavior. When his son was killed in Neo Market, there was a protest because of injustice relative to the killing of George Floyd. And the George Floyd family said the exact same thing. And I just want to echo that engaging in vandalism and the destruction of property, when people engage in that sort of behavior, you are dishonoring the memory of the people who have died. And I don't want to say more importantly, but it almost is more importantly, you are playing right into the hands of the people who are against what it is you are protesting for, because you end up allowing those people to have other folks tell them, see, this is the reason why we need to have heavy-handed this, that, or the other. Folks, y'all getting played when you engage in that behavior. The Scurlock family and their attorney, Justin Wayne, wanted to have this grand jury take place as a process, and that process has taken place, and we'll go on to the next step. I can assure you that it would have been contrary to what I consider to be justice for Jake Gardner to be indicted because the grand jurors believed him to have been a racist, because being a racist is not against the law. He's not indicted because he may or may not be a racist. I'm confident that the grand jury looked at evidence relative to the homicide statutes. I accepted this responsibility not to advance any organization's agenda, not to advance the agenda of black people because I'm African American, not to rubber stamp what Don Klein's office had decided to do. When I accepted the responsibility, it was with the understanding that I took an oath to be impartial in terms of gathering the evidence and then presenting it to the grand jury in a manner that allowed them to make decisions as to whether or not those facts implicated certain sections of the Nebraska Criminal Code. I believe that there is competent, credible evidence to support the decision that they in fact did make.